A woman and man get into a car accident. Both of their cars are totally demolished, but amazingly neither of them are hurt. After they crawl out of the wreckage, the woman says, "Wow, look at our cars, there's nothing left. Thank God we are all right. This must be a sign from him that we should be friends and not try to pin the blame on each other." The man replies, "Oh yes, I agree with you completely." The woman points to a bottle on the ground and says, "And here's another miracle. Somehow this bottle of scotch from my back seat didn't break. Surely God wants us to drink this scotch and celebrate our good fortune." Then she hands the bottle to the man. The man nods his head in agreement, opens it, and drinks about a third of the bottle to calm his nerves. He then hands it back to the woman. The woman takes the bottle, immediately puts the cap back on, and hands it back to the man. The man asks, "Aren't you having any?" The woman replies, "No. I think I'll just wait for the police. I'll let them decide whose fault it is." Four husbands are at the lobby waiting for the nurse to tell them about the babies their wives gave birth to. The nurse walks up to the first man and says, "Congratulations, your wife gave birth to twins." The man says, "That's odd, because I work at a restaurant called Two Cities." The nurse walks up to the second man and says, "Congratulations, your wife gave birth to triplets." The man says, "That's weird because I work at a factory called Three Continents." The nurse walks up to the third guy and says, "Congratulations, your wife gave birth to quadruplets." The man says, "That's very odd, because I work at the Four Seasons Hotel." The fourth man starts crying. One of the men says, "What's wrong?" The fourth man responds, "I work at 7-Up." Late one night a man is driving down the road, speeding quite a bit. A cop notices how fast he is going and pulls him over. The cop says to the man, "Are you aware of how fast you were going?" The man replies, "Yes, I am. I'm trying to escape a robbery I got involved in." The cop gives him a skeptical look and says, "Were you the one being robbed?" The man casually replies, "No, I committed the robbery." The cop looks shocked that the man admitted this. "So you're telling me you were speeding and committed a robbery?" "Yes," the man calmly says. "I have the loot in the back." The cop begins to get angry. "Sir, I'm afraid you have to come with me." The cop reaches in the window to subdue the man. "Don't do that," the man yells fearfully. "I'm scared you will find the gun in my glove compartment." The cop pulls his hand out. "Wait here," he says. The cop calls for backup. Soon cops, cars, and helicopters are flooding the area. The man is cuffed quickly and taken towards a car. However, before he gets in, a cop walks up to him and says, while gesturing to the cop that pulled him over, "Sir, this officer informed us that you had committed a robbery, had stolen loot in the trunk of your car, and had a loaded gun in your glove compartment. However, we found none of these things in your car." The man replies, "Yeah, and I bet that liar said I was speeding too." One day, as a husband was reading the Sunday paper, his wife smacked him upside the head with a frying pan. "What was that for?" cried the husband. "I was doing your laundry when I found a piece of paper with the name of Mary Lou on it," screamed the wife. "Who is she? Are you cheating on me?" "Honey, don't worry. Remember when I went to the horse race 3 weeks ago with my friends? Mary Lou was the name of the horse I was betting on." Satisfied, the wife continued doing the laundry. A few hours later, the wife smacked the husband with a frying pan again. "What was that for?" said the annoyed husband. Your horse called. Three men are shipwrecked on a deserted island, and they met a troop of cannibals. The cannibals surrounded them and said, "Go get 10 of any kind of fruit, or we'll tear you to pieces, and if you don't we'll tear you to shreds." So the first man comes back with 10 apples and the tribe says, "Stuff them up your butt. If you make one noise we'll put you in the eating cage." So the man gets 2 up his, but then whimpers and gets thrown in the cage. The second man come with 10 cherries and the tribe tells him the same thing. He manages to get 8 up his butt and then bursts out laughing. The first man asks the second, "And why are you laughing?" And the second man says, "I saw the third man coming with pineapples." Anant called home one afternoon to see what his wife was making for dinner. "Hello," said a little girl's voice. "Hi, honey, it's Daddy," said Anant. "Is Mommy near the phone?" "No, Daddy. She's upstairs in the bedroom with Uncle Frank." After a brief pause, Anant said, "But you don't have an Uncle Frank, honey." "Yes, I do. He's upstairs in the bedroom with Mommy." "Okay, then. Here's what I want you to do. Put down the phone, run upstairs, knock on the bedroom door and shout into Mommy and Uncle Frank that my car just pulled up outside the house." "Okay, Daddy." A few minutes later, the little girl came back to the phone. "Well, I did what you said, Daddy." "And what happened?" "Well, Mommy jumped out of bed with no clothes on and ran around screaming, then she tripped over the rug and went out the front window, and now she's all dead." "Oh my God. What about Uncle Frank?" "He jumped out of bed with no clothes on too, and he was all scared, and he jumped out the back window into the swimming pool, but he must have forgot that you took out all the water last week to clean it, so he hit the bottom of the swimming pool, and now he's dead too." There was a long pause, then Anant said, "Swimming pool? Is this 5557039? I was having trouble with my computer. So I called Joseph, the 14-year-old next door whose bedroom looks like mission control, and asked him to come over. Joseph clicked a couple of buttons and solved the problem. As he was walking away, I called after him, "So, what was wrong?" He replied, "It was an ID 10T error." I didn't want to appear stupid, but nonetheless inquired, "An ID 10T error? What's that? In case I need to fix it again." Joseph grinned, "Haven't you ever heard of an ID 10T error before?" "No," I replied. "Write it down," he said, "and I think you'll figure it out." So I wrote down, "idiot." A man arrives at a physician, the doctor asks for the problem, the man says that he has a severe backache, the doctor asks for the reason that caused the backache, the man explains. "This morning, when I got back home from my night shift at work, I saw my wife naked in bed asleep, and there were evidence of a man's presence, so I immediately began searching for the bastard. When I looked out of window, I saw a naked man down in the alley wearing cloth. I lifted the nearest object, which was the refrigerator, and dropped it out in the alley, and it landed on man in the alley. The reason was the lifting." The doctor were shocked and then wrote some drugs in the prescription, and the first man leaves. The second man arrives at the physician. Doctor asks for the problem and gets severe backache again. When asks for reason behind it, here's. "This morning I woke up late and were very late for work, so I decided to wear my cloth on the way. So I ran to the alley naked and began to wear my cloth there when suddenly a heavy object was dropped on me. I guess the reason was being hit by that object." The doctor was shocked even more, and then wrote some drugs for him. The third man enters and complains about same problem, severe backache. The doctor, which was shocked to the very existence, sarcastically told the man, "Did you lift a refrigerator or got hit by a refrigerator?" The man replied, "No, I was inside the refrigerator." In the mall there were 3 robbers who was being chased by a police. The 3 robbers found 3 sacks, now each of them have a sack. They hid inside the sack, and then later the police walks by and saw the 3 sacks. The police kicked the first sack. The guy in the first sack said, "Woof, woof." The police said, "It's only a dog." Then he kicked the second bag and the second guy said, "Meow, meow." Then the police said, "It's only a cat." And then finally the police kicked the third sack and nothing happens. He kicked it again, and still nothing happens. He kicked it for the last time and finally the third guy in the sack said, "What the hell? I'm a potato, I'm not supposed to speak." That awkward moment when you say goodbye to someone and then both walk in the same direction. That awkward moment when someone tells you to stop clicking your pen, but you have to click it one more time to use it. That awkward moment when somebody is cross-eyed and you don't know which eye to look at. That awkward moment when someone's zipper is down and you don't know whether to tell, because you can't explain why you were looking that low. That awkward moment when you wave to someone and it turns out they were waving to the person behind you. That awkward moment when your chair makes a farting noise and no one believes it was the chair, so you try to do it again. That awkward moment when you change your Facebook status to single and your ex likes it. That awkward moment when your teacher is helping someone with their work and her ass is in your face. That awkward moment when you start telling a story and you realize no one's listening, so you slowly fade out and pretend you never said anything. That awkward moment when you do a math problem and your answer isn't even one of the choices. That awkward moment when you think you wrote a great status and then nobody likes it. That awkward moment when you call your girlfriend the wrong name. Reaching the end of a job interview, the human resources officer asks a young engineer fresh out of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, "And what starting salary are you looking for?" The engineer replies, "In the region of $125,000 a year, depending on the benefits package." The interviewer inquires, "Well, what would you say to a package of 5 weeks vacation, 14 paid holidays, full medical and dental, company matching retirement fund to 50% of salary, and a company car leased every 2 years, say, a red Corvette?" The engineer sits up straight and says, "Wow. Are you kidding?" The interviewer replies, "Yeah, but you started it." A blonde, a redhead, and a brunette were all lost in the desert. They found a lamp and rubbed it. A genie popped out and granted them each one wish. The redhead wished to be back home. Poof! She was back home. The brunette wished to be at home with her family. Poof! She was back home with her family. The blonde said, "Oh, I wish my friends were here." "What does IDK stand for?" "I don't know." "Oh my God, nobody does." "Why can't a blonde dial 911? She can't find the 11. A guy was driving in a car with a blonde. He told her to stick her head out the window and see if the blinker worked. She stuck her head out and said, "Yes, no, yes, no, yes." Why aren't dogs good dancers? Because they have two left feet. Why do dogs bury bones in the ground? Because you can't bury them in trees. What do you call a dog magician? A labracadabrador. A dog goes into a bar and orders a martini. The bartender says, "You don't see a dog in here drinking a martini very often." The dog says, "At these prices, I'm not surprised." What do you get when you cross a dog and a lion? You're not going to get any mail, that's for sure. What kind of dog chases anything red? Bulldog. Why did the poor dog chase his own tail? He was trying to make both ends meet. A monkey is sitting in a tree, smoking a joint, when a lizard walks past. The lizard looks up and says, "Hey, what are you doing?" The monkey says, "Smoking a joint." "Come up and join me." So the lizard climbs up and sits next to the monkey, and they have another joint. After a while, the lizard says his mouth is dry, and that he's going to get a drink from the river. At the riverbank, the lizard is so stoned that he leans over too far and falls in. A crocodile sees this and swims over to the stoned lizard, helping him to the side. He then asks the lizard, "What's the matter with you?" The lizard explains that he was up in the tree, smoking a joint with the monkey, and his mouth got dry, and that he was so wasted that, when he went to get a drink from the river, he fell in. The inquisitive crocodile says he has to check this out. He walks into the jungle and finds the tree where the monkey is sitting, finishing a joint. He looks up and says, "Hey, monkey." The monkey looks down and says, "Oh my God. Dude. How much water did you drink?" Politician to his lawyer, "I'll admit it was a miracle you were able to clear my name. However, I don't understand why you charged me 3 times the hours of actual work. It has to do with the law. Do you mean to tell me the law told you to triple bill me?" "No, but for some odd reason the law doesn't allow me to write the word bribe on a billing statement." A local citizen ran for a political position for the first time and won. "Congratulate me," he says to his wife. "I won the nomination." The wife replies, surprised, "Honestly? Now why in thunder did you want to bring up that point for?" A man died and arrived at the pearly gates. St. Peter greets him and says, "Welcome. Come walk with me, and I'll show you where you'll be staying." As they're walking along the path, he notices clocks on the golden fence of heaven. He asks St. Peter, "What are all those clocks for?" St. Peter replies, "They're clocks for every person in the world. They click once for each time you lie." By the time they reach where the man is staying, he asks out of curiosity, "I didn't see any politicians' clocks. Where are they kept?" St. Peter calmly replies, "People here use them as fans." One day, Einstein has to speak at an important science conference. On the way there, he tells his driver that looks a bit like him, "I'm sick of all these conferences. I always say the same things over and over." The driver agrees, "You're right. As your driver, I attended all of them, and even though I don't know anything about science, I could give the conference in your place." "That's a great idea," says Einstein. "Let's switch places then." So they switch clothes, and as soon as they arrive, the driver dressed as Einstein goes on stage and starts giving the usual speech, while the real Einstein, dressed as the car driver, attends it. But in the crowd, there is one scientist who wants to impress everyone and thinks of a very difficult question to ask Einstein, hoping he won't be able to respond. So this guy stands up and interrupts the conference by posing his very difficult question. The whole room goes silent, holding their breath, waiting for the response. The driver looks at him, dead in the eye, and says, "Sir, your question is so easy to answer that I'm going to let my driver reply to it for me." So the Pope is super early for his flight. He asks his driver on his way to the airport if he could drive around for a while because they have time to kill, and he hasn't driven a car since becoming the Pope. Naturally, he's a bit rusty, so he's driving poorly, when suddenly he sees police lights behind him. He pulls over, and when the officer comes up to the window his eyes go wide. He says to the Pope, "Hold on for a minute," and goes back to his car to radio the chief. "Chief, we have a situation. I've pulled over an important figure." "How important? A governor or something?" "No, sir. He's bigger." "So what? A celebrity or something?" "More important, sir." "A major politician?" "No, sir, he's much more important." "Well, who is it?" "Actually, I'm not sure. But the Pope is his driver." Three couples are trying to get married at the same church. There is a young couple, a middle-aged couple, and an elderly couple. The three couples meet with the priest and discuss when they can get married. "If you wish to get married in my church, you must all go 1 month without having sex," says the priest. 1 month later the three couples return to the church and talk to the priest. He then asks the elderly couple, "Have you completed the month without sex?" "Yes, we have, it was easy," replies the elderly couple. "How about you?" he asks the middle-aged couple. "It was hard, but we didn't have sex for the whole month," they respond. "And how about you two?" he asks the young couple. "No, we couldn't do it," responds the boyfriend. "Tell me why," says the priest. "Well, my girlfriend had a can of corn in her hand and she accidentally dropped it. She bent over to pick it up and that's when it happened." The priest then tells them, "You're not welcome in my church." "We're not welcome in the supermarket either," says the boyfriend. An American businessman was at the pier of a small coastal Mexican village when a small boat with just one fisherman docked. Inside the small boat were several large yellowfin tuna. The American complimented the fisherman on the quality of his fish and asked how long it took to catch them. The fisherman replied that it only took a little while. The American then asked why didn't he stay out longer and catch more fish. The fisherman said he had enough to support his family's immediate needs. The American then asked, "But what do you do with the rest of your time?" The fisherman said, "I sleep late, fish a little, play with my children, take siesta with my wife, Maria, stroll into the village each evening where I sip wine and play guitar with my amigos. I have a full and busy life, senor." The American scoffed. "I am a Wharton MBA and could help you. You should spend more time fishing and with the proceeds, buy a bigger boat. With the proceeds from the bigger boat you could buy several boats. Eventually you would have a fleet of fishing boats. Instead of selling your catch to a middleman you would sell directly to the processor, eventually opening your own cannery. You would control the product, processing and distribution. You would need to leave this small coastal fishing village and move to Mexico City, then LA, and eventually New York City, where you will run your expanding enterprise. The fisherman asked, "But how long will this all take?" To which the American replied, 15 or 20 years. "But what then?" The American laughed and said, "That's the best part. When the time is right, you would announce an IPO and sell your company stock to the public and become very rich. You would make millions." "Millions? Then what?" The American said, "Then you would retire. Move to a small coastal fishing village where you would sleep late, fish a little, play with your kids, take siesta with your wife, stroll to the village in the evenings where you could sip wine and play your guitar with your friends.